The Indianapolis Colts got screwed over on Sunday in a game against the Cleveland Browns where the Indianapolis Colts lost 38-39. Towards the end of the game, the referees made some questionable calls that cost the Indianapolis Colts this game. At the same time, there are things in this game that the Indianapolis Colts did that shot themselves in the foot, and if we would have executed correctly, that would have made the end of the game not matter at all. But that still does not diminish the fact that the referees in this game were terrible. So let's start with the beginning of this game. The Cleveland Browns strike first pretty quickly, I might add. Jerome Ford has 69-yard run straight up the gut. When I saw that play, I was like, oh my goodness, this may be a long day for the Indianapolis Colts. But you know, just in good old Colts fashion, we turn around and get a 59-yard pass from Gardner Minshew to Josh Downs. You know, Josh Downs, that guy. I really do enjoy watching Josh Downs. I don't know if you can say that he is becoming the #1 wide receiver in Indy. I still like Michael Pittman Jr. And those two, I think, are doing a fantastic job in Indy right now. But with that being said, the Colts do strike back pretty quickly in order to tie this ball game up 7-7. And I've been somebody who has been very critical of Gardner Minshew, especially in that Jacksonville Jaguars game, because I felt like he did not play that well. But the more I watch Gardner Minshew, I am a fan, but at the same time, you do still have to realize what you have in Gardner Minshew. He can have games like this against Cleveland where he played pretty well, other than a few costly mistakes. We're going to get into those here in a second. But at the same time, he is somebody who can show up when he needs to. And I see that they're starting to let him run a little bit, and I do like that. But let's talk Deshaun Watson for just a second or so, because he did not stay in this game long. We know that he left the game because of a precautionary concussion protocol check that he did pass. And then it was later on said that he aggravated the throwing shoulder that he hurt a couple weeks ago. And if I had to say right now, Deshaun Watson is probably one of the biggest disappointments in the NFL this season. Now, me being somebody who is an Alabama fan, I was not the biggest fan of Deshaun Watson in Clemson. But on top of that, though, he was on the Houston Texans for a long time, so I still wasn't the biggest fan of Deshaun Watson. I thought he had game. I did appreciate his craft, and I thought he was one of the better quarterbacks in the league, probably second to Patrick Mahomes at one point in time, maybe for a year or so. But right now, he is not looking like his former self. Some people have put that on the offense, saying that it's a different system. He's used to running a spread out offense, and now it's more of a run first type of offense, which could be true, but he's definitely not looking like the Deshaun Watson of old. Some people are saying that he's milking his injury. Some people are saying that he just did not want to get back in the game at the time. During this game, he only completed one pass for 5 yards. He threw one interception, really probably should have been 2 interceptions. And a lot of Cleveland Brown fans have already come out and said that they think that they're better off without Deshaun Watson in the first place. But he has a lot of money tied up, and I highly doubt that they're going to go away from him anytime soon. But now let's move on with the rest of the game. And going back to that point about Gardner Minshew running a little bit more in his Colts offense, he scored a 17-yard run to give the Colts the lead 7-14. Soon after this, Deshaun Watson goes down and he wouldn't return to the game. We already talked about this, so let's go ahead and quickly move on to the first mistake that Gardner Minshew made in this game. He had a fumble that was recovered by Cleveland, and they capitalized off of this. Green Hunt scores on a 2-yard run, and that goes back to how we spoke about the Colts shooting themselves in the foot. You give the Cleveland Browns a short field when they have their backup QB in the game. It's going to be harder for your defense to contain and keep a lead if you give the other team short fields. Later on in the second quarter, we get what I would probably call one of the best highlights of the week, and I honestly have to say this was a very athletic play from Myles Garrett. He jumps over the lineman, clears him as if he was at a track meet, and blocks the 60-yard field goal attempt by the Indianapolis Colts. So I do have to give Myles Garrett props on this play. It was very athletic, and it's probably one of the cleanest blocked field goals I've seen in a long time. Cleveland would go on to get a field goal. Gardner Minshew would then follow that up with a 4-yard run for a touchdown. The score is now 17-21, and then that's when another mistake happens. Gardner Minshew drops back the pass, and then there's a fumble in the end zone, which resulted in a touchdown for Cleveland, which then put them up 24-21. And I've been harping on this entire video. The Colts put themselves in bad positions that ultimately led to that last play coming down into the ref's hands, which we're going to get to in a minute, even though we're only in the second quarter at this point. But when you're down there in the end zone and you call a pass play as a quarterback, especially Gardner Minshew being somebody who is a veteran in the game, you got to have that internal clock to know that the defense is probably going to get there at some point in time. Now, should the O-line have held up just a little bit longer? Maybe. You can make that argument, but at the end of the day, it's his fumble. He has to live with that. Cleveland will also get a 54-yard field goal to end the half, and now the score is 27-21. And at the half, I do have to give it to the Indianapolis Colts, because being a team who has been down this season, look at the Rams game where they had to crawl their way back and force an overtime. Even though they did ultimately lose that game, the Colts never stop fighting. Anytime that a team has a lead on the Indianapolis Colts, they will not stop fighting. And I can respect that trait in a team, because a lot of times you see teams getting beat, some things go wrong, and they hang their heads down and they do not fight back. No, the Colts have proved time and time again that no lead is safe. They can come back and win games, and they can come back and simply put up a good fight, and they may still lose. But at the same time, it does give me hope for the future as we continue to build around this team, that even through adversity, this team can continue to push forward. Now let's fast forward to the third quarter, where there wasn't a whole lot of action as compared to the other two quarters. The Cleveland Browns got another 54-yard field goal, and now the score is 30-21. And then Jonathan Taylor follows that up and gets a 5-yard run for a touchdown, and now it's 30-28. And I will say this, the Colts defense did a great job of limiting the Browns to these long field goals. If your kicker is kicking 50-yard field goals all day, I mean, the defense is doing an okay job. I mean, you're bending, but you're not breaking. And giving up 3 is definitely better than giving up 6. And in my honest opinion, the only reason the Browns were able to score the touchdowns that they did was because the Colts simply handed it to them. Except for that long run of 69 yards by Jerome Ford in the first quarter, the Colts defense actually did a great job now that I'm going back and watching the game again. In the fourth quarter, Matt Gay, the reliable, hits a 27-yard field goal. And then Dustin Hopkins once again hits a 58-yard field goal. If you had Dustin Hopkins on your fantasy team as a kicker, I don't know how many points he scored, but I'm pretty sure you got a lot of points from this kicker. But with this latest kick, the score is now 33-31 in Cleveland's favor. And now we get one of the best highlights that Michael Pittman has had so far this year. And like I stated earlier, I do like Michael Pittman. He gets a 75-yard touchdown pass from Gardner Minshew, and it started out as maybe a 20-yard completion or so. So shout out to Michael Pittman for the extra effort, and that put the Colts up 33-38. And that should have been your ball game. But that takes us right into the controversy that happened in this game. And so now we fast forward to the 45-second mark. Cleveland is driving the ball, but they have no timeouts left. The Colts get a strip sack, and that's supposed to be the ball game. However, the refs had other intentions. We get a horrible illegal contact call on this play, which results in an automatic first down for the Cleveland Browns. But to make matters even worse, on the first and goal play, PJ Walker throws an uncatchable ball, and the Colts get called for pass interference. And so that sets up the Cleveland Browns first and goal, half a distance to the goal line. Even after all of that, it took a fourth down effort from Kareem Hunt for them to ultimately get the touchdown. It was so bad. But that's how it goes. Every team in the league knows how it feels to be on the bad end or the wrong end of bad calls. And so this was one of those times as a Colts fan that it happened to me. But it could be worse. We could be in the playoffs, and I could be a Saints fan and, not get a pass interference call. It is what it is. And this game in particular, even though we lost, it gave me a little bit of hope for this Colts team, even though I was down because of AR being out for the season. And I actually enjoyed the development of one Josh Downs, and that is something that I can watch the Colts for. Now, when we're talking about the team as a whole, of course I enjoy everybody else, but I love and I really wanted to see how the development of the younger guys. I think we know what we have with some of the other players on the team, but it was going to be very interesting to see the development of Anthony Richardson. That was the build up for the entire season. Now, I think we really need to put our attentions on Josh Downs and seeing how his development is going to be. But let me know how you feel about these Indianapolis Colts so far this season. Are you excited? Are you up or down on the Colts? And I will see you guys in the next video.